Today, I am super excited to be sharing with you 3 delicious and incredibly easy high-protein vegan meals. Whether you're a seasoned plant-based eater or just looking to incorporate more protein into your diet, these 3 recipes are incredibly nourishing and tasty. Let's start by making some Eggy McMuffins from the Plant-Wise Summer Meal Guide. You'll take 1 package of extra firm tofu and you'll crumble the tofu and place it over the stove on medium heat. Then you'll add 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, which is going to add an additional 8 grams of protein. Nutritional yeast is packed with a complete protein. It is great to add to your diet. Then you'll add 1/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric, just 1/4, not too much or else it will taste like turmeric. And then 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Anytime you use turmeric, you want to also pair it with pepper to increase its absorption rate, so just a little bit of pepper. And then you'll finish it off with 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Now, if you have black salt, you're more than welcome to use it to give it that eggy flavor. Otherwise, I just use my regular light salt. You'll mix everything together and then let it cook for just about a minute or 2 while you toast the English muffins. This makes 4 servings, so you'll add about 1/4 of the mixture to your English muffin. And then you're welcome to add any hot sauce or any ketchup. I love hot sauce, so I add some hot sauce to that, and there you go. With the protein from the tofu, the nutritional yeast, and the English muffin, this is about 18 grams of protein for just a simple little tiny sandwich. It's really good. With the hot sauce, this is so yummy. If you don't know what to make for dinner tonight and you have a block of tofu and even just bread, then make this for dinner. It takes 5 minutes to put together, super high in protein, so delicious. The whole family will love it, so easy. Of course, you can add a banana, orange, some veggies as well with this, but any way you eat it is great. This eggy sandwich actually has more protein than regular eggs because tofu has more protein than actual eggs. Next up, we're gonna be making sweet and spicy tempeh. Tempeh is super high in protein, plus it's easier for the body to absorb all of the protein in tempeh because it's fermented. Now also, unfortunately, because tempeh is fermented, it's also slightly bitter. So we will be boiling it in salt water to take away some of that bitter flavor. You'll slice your tempeh and then cube it. We'll add it to some water so that everything is covered, and then we'll sprinkle it with some salt. And the salt is gonna help take away the bitterness. And then boil that water. While the tempeh is boiling, we're gonna add 1/4 cup of maple syrup to a bowl, 1/4 cup of soy sauce, a tablespoon of red wine vinegar. You can also use rice vinegar. And the star ingredient here is this adobe sauce. These chipotles are seasoned in this adobe sauce, and we don't want the actual peppers in here. So you just kind of squish it down, and we want a tablespoon of that delicious sauce. We're gonna mix all that in. Here's the actual pepper. Super spicy, we don't need that. We just want the sauce. In our fall meal guide, I make a really yummy sweet potato chili with this same adobe sauce. So if you've already opened the can, you can make that meal next. That sweet potato chili is yummy. You'll also add about 3 cloves of garlic. Okay, the sauce is done. Now we're gonna make the cornstarch mixture that we will fry the tempeh in. So you'll need about 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. Add that to a bowl. 1/2 of a teaspoon of garlic powder. And then just for a little bit extra flavor, it's 1/4 a teaspoon of thyme. I have grounded up thyme, but you can use any type of thyme. Now we'll mix this together, and now we're ready to take out our tempeh. And then we'll add this tempeh to the cornstarch mixture and just coat everything evenly as possible. This is what makes it crunchy. If you skip this step, you won't get crunchy tempeh. Now we'll quickly chop up an onion and a bell pepper. Now we'll turn our pan back on medium-high heat, and we will water saute our onion and bell pepper. Add a little bit of water. Once the onions are translucent, you'll place all of the peppers and the onions to the sides of the pan, and then add in your tempeh to cook right in the middle. And then we'll add in the sauce. Mix everything together nice and well. And then this will cook for a minute or 2 until the sauce kind of boils down, thickens. We'll mix with some of that cornstarch and thicken pretty quickly. Once that sauce has thickened, you will turn off the heat. Perfect. And then you will add this with some brown rice. This makes about 4 servings. And then you'll top it with some green onions. All right, time to test. It is sweet and a little spicy. I like it. Now, depending on your serving size, but with the brown rice, this can be anywhere between 15 to 18 grams of protein in one bowl. Also, another great add-in at the end is to add in some pineapple. It's so yummy. I think it's so good to add to this sweet and sour sauce. And again, you can add it all the way in if everyone in your family will eat it, or just keep it to the side. I like it. Hey, real quick, have you grabbed my free 1-week meal guide? It has a whole week of plant-based meals with a shopping list. So make sure to grab it if you haven't already. It's linked below. Our last recipe is masala soy chunks. I know that may sound confusing, but let me explain. These are soya chunks. Soya chunks are made from soy flour, but it's defatted. Basically, when you make soybean oil, what you have left over is defatted soy flour. So you can make TBP out of that or these soya chunks, and they're incredibly high in protein. So let me show you how you can actually make them taste good. They're really popular in India and in a lot of Indian dishes, thus the masala. First, we'll soak about 2 cups of these soya chunks in water. I'm gonna let this boil for a second so it's nice and hot. The soybean chunks have rehydrated, so we're gonna turn off the heat and then rinse them. So we wanna remove the excess water from these soy chunks, so I'm actually gonna add them to my tofu press and just gently squeeze all of that excess water out. Now you can see how easy it is to then get all the extra water out. Perfect. We'll add the soya chunks to a bowl, and then we'll quickly toss about a half a teaspoon of chili powder, a half a teaspoon of garam masala, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half a teaspoon of salt. We'll mix all that up and just let those flavors marinate for a second. Meanwhile, we'll saute 1 onion and then add 3 cloves of garlic to this as well. Once the onion is translucent, we will add a half a cup of tomato sauce, a half a teaspoon of chili powder, a full teaspoon of garam masala, 1 teaspoon of coriander. Now, as you can tell, we need a little bit extra water, which will help to deglaze the pan. So let's add another half a cup of water and get all that flavor. We'll mix everything together, and then we'll add the soya chunks and mix everything together. And we're going to let this cook for just a couple of minutes until the texture becomes dry. It's still a little bit wet. We want it to be nice and dry, just because those soya chunks are kind of naturally mushy, so we want to unmush them. Perfect. You don't want to cook it much longer, otherwise it will burn, but this is perfect. Then you'll finish it off with a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. I want to give you one extra option. So it looks like this once everything's cooked, but if you like it a little bit more crispy, you can actually add it to your air fryer and just crisp it up for a couple minutes. While that is air frying, I'm going to microwave some broccoli. It's just some frozen broccoli, just to warm it up. Okay, so I ended up air frying it for 10 minutes at 400 degrees. It just has more of the texture like meat. It's not necessary, but it does make the texture a little bit better. As we finish up this dish, it's really important that we talk about the star ingredient, which is mambo sauce. If you can't find mambo sauce, you can Google how to make mambo sauce. It's delicious. It's ketchup, sugar, water, vinegar, soy sauce with some hot sauce and additional spices. It is so good, and it is the perfect mix. I feel like the masala with soy chunks just need a little extra mambo sauce. And we'll add this over rice and broccoli. Okay, let's put it all together. So you'll add rice to a bowl and then add in your broccoli, and then we'll add those soya chunks. And the key ingredient to make this so delicious is the mambo sauce. Seriously, this makes everything delicious. Without it, this dish is not the same. I know, it's an interesting mix of the masala plus the mambo sauce. Then you'll just top with some green onions, and it is so yummy. And if you really want to get fancy, you can squeeze some lime juice on top as well. So why take the time to make soya chunks actually taste good? Why boil it, then marinate it, then put it in the air fryer? Because ounce per ounce, soya chunks have more protein than chicken. It is a great source of protein. It's low in fat, it's low in cholesterol, and when cooked correctly, it actually tastes pretty darn good. The sauce, the flavors, the spices, this is great. Now, these last 2 dishes both have this perfect mix of sweet and spicy. Totally different types of sweet and spicy. Broccoli is also a high protein food as well. Granted, you have to eat a lot of broccoli to get a lot of protein from it, but it's a great addition to this meal. If you like these recipes, make sure to check out my other high protein videos or my saucy tofu videos as well.